The chapel door clicked shut, sealing us in shadow. Daniel's hand grazed my wrist, steady, unyielding. "Stay," he whispered, voice low like a secret meant to be buried. In this small California town, where whispers spread faster than truth, I knew this moment could unravel everything. But his gaze held me, and I didn't pull away. Evan wiped the grease from his hands, the hum of the garage fading as he locked up for the night. At 25, he was a mechanic in a dusty Central Valley town, where everyone knew your name but not your heart. He'd spent years dodging questions about why he hadn't settled down, why he kept to himself. The truth was a weight he carried alone, hidden behind a quick smile and calloused hands. The sun dipped low, painting the hills gold as he walked home, the air thick with the scent of dry grass. He passed the community center, a squat building where the town held everything from potlucks to prayer groups. Tonight, a food drive was underway, boxes stacked haphazardly by the entrance. A man stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, directing volunteers with a quiet authority. Pastor Daniel, 32, was new to town, his presence commanding yet warm, like he could see through you without judgment. "Evan, right?" Daniel's voice cut through the evening hum. "Could use a hand with these." He nodded toward the boxes, his eyes catching Evan's for a beat too long. Evan shrugged, setting his bag down. He hefted a box, their fingers brushing as Daniel passed him another. The contact was brief, but electric, like a spark in the dry summer air. Evan's pulse quickened, but he pushed it down, following Daniel inside. The center's hallway was quiet, the faint echo of their steps the only sound. They stacked the boxes in silence, the air heavy with something unspoken. When the last one was set down, Daniel leaned against the wall, his gaze steady. "You're good at this." "Helping out," he said, his tone carrying more than gratitude. Evan managed a half-smile. "Just passing through." Daniel didn't let it go. "Stay for a drink?" "Water, coffee, nothing fancy." Evan hesitated, then nodded. They moved to a small office, where Daniel poured 2 glasses of water from a pitcher. He handed one to Evan, their fingers brushing again. This time, neither pulled away quickly. Evan took a sip, the cold grounding him as Daniel watched, thoughtful. "You don't say much," Daniel said, setting his glass down. "But you've got a story." Evan laughed, short and nervous. "Not much to tell. Fix cars, keep my head down." Daniel stepped closer, his presence filling the space. "I see more than that." His voice was soft but firm, like he was naming something Evan had buried deep. The air shifted, charged with a tension Evan couldn't name. He set his glass down, his hand unsteady. "I should go," he said, but his feet didn't move. Daniel's gaze held him, searching, not demanding, but not letting go either. "You don't have to," Daniel said. "Not yet." Evan's heart pounded. He'd spent years building walls, keeping everyone at arm's length. But Daniel's words, his quiet certainty, cracked something open. "Why me?" Evan asked, barely above a whisper. Daniel didn't answer right away. He stepped closer, close enough that Evan could feel the warmth of his presence. "Because I see you," Daniel said. "And I think you see me too." The moment hung between them, fragile and heavy. Evan wanted to run, to stay, to say something, anything. But before he could, a voice called from the hallway. "Pastor, you still here?" Sister Mary, a regular at the center, her footsteps approaching. Daniel stepped back, his expression unreadable. "Another time," he said, low enough for only Evan to hear. Evan nodded, grabbing his bag and slipping out the side door. His pulse raced as he walked home, the golden hills now fading to dusk. He didn't know what had just happened, but he felt it, a pull, a risk, a truth he wasn't ready to face. And he knew he'd be back, drawn to Daniel like a moth to a flame, no matter what it might cost. The community center's side door locked with a soft click, but my heart pounded loud enough to drown it out. Daniel stood inches away, his gaze steady, like he could see every secret I'd buried. "You came back," he said, voice low and sure. In a town that judged without asking, this felt like a line we couldn't uncross, but neither of us turned away. Evan couldn't stay away. Days after their first encounter, he found himself lingering near the community center, drawn by a pull he didn't fully understand. The Central Valley sun beat down, the air heavy with heat, but it was Daniel's quiet intensity that kept him restless. A text buzzed on his phone. "Boxes to move." 8 p.m. No greeting, just a command. Evan's pulse spiked. He knew it was an excuse, and he went anyway. At the center, Daniel was already there, stacking supplies for the next food drive. They worked in silence, the air thick with unspoken words. When the last box was set down, Daniel leaned close, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to keep coming, you know." Evan met his eyes, steady despite the knot in his chest. "But I do." Their meetings grew frequent, stolen moments after the center cleared out. Late evenings turned into quiet conversations, Daniel's words pulling Evan in like a current. They talked about everything: dreams, fears, the weight of a town that watched too closely. Each time, Daniel's presence felt like a shelter, a place where Evan didn't have to hide. But every glance, every shared silence, carried a risk. This wasn't just friendship, it was something deeper, something that could break them both. One night, as they sorted donations, their hands brushed again. Evan froze, the contact sparking something he couldn't ignore. Daniel didn't pull away. Instead, he stepped closer, his voice low. "You feel it too, don't you?" Evan nodded, unable to speak, his heart racing. The moment stretched, fragile and charged, until a sharp knock broke it. "Daniel, you in there?" Sister Mary's voice, curious and sharp, came through the door. Daniel stepped back, his expression calm but guarded. "Just a sec," he called, opening the door just enough to block her view. "Finishing up," he said smoothly. Sister Mary peered past him, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Thought I heard voices," she said, then left with a polite nod. The door clicked shut, and Daniel turned to Evan, his jaw tight. "We need to be careful." Evan's stomach twisted. Careful wasn't enough in a town like this. Whispers spread fast, and he'd seen how quickly judgment could turn to rejection. Still, he couldn't stop. The next night, he was back, helping Daniel move chairs after a meeting. Their shoulders brushed, and Daniel's hand lingered on Evan's arm, a silent question. Evan didn't pull away. "What are we doing?" he asked, voice low. Daniel's eyes softened. Something real. But reality crept in. Evan's best friend, Jake, started asking questions. They'd grown up together, fixing cars and sharing beers. But lately, Jake noticed Evan's late nights, his distraction. "You're hiding something," Jake said one afternoon at the garage, his tone sharp. Evan shrugged it off, but Jake's eyes lingered, suspicious. "You can tell me, man." Evan wanted to, but the words stuck in his throat. He'd seen how Jake reacted to rumors about others. Quick to laugh, quick to judge. The weight of it all pressed on Evan. He lay awake at night, replaying Daniel's words, the warmth of his presence. But doubt crept in too. Daniel was the center's leader, respected, untouchable. Evan was just a mechanic, dodging whispers about why he was still single. What happened when someone found out? The town wouldn't just talk, they'd act. Jobs could vanish, friendships could break. And Daniel, what did he risk letting Evan this close? One evening, as they locked up the center, Daniel stopped him. "You're scared," he said, not a question. Evan nodded, staring at the ground. "Aren't you?" Daniel's silence was answer enough. He reached out, his hand steady on Evan's shoulder. "I am, but I can't walk away from this." "Can you?" Evan looked up, caught in Daniel's gaze, and shook his head. "No." They stood there, the world outside fading, the truth between them sharper than ever. But the sound of tires on gravel snapped them back. Headlights flashed through the window. Someone was outside. Evan's heart sank. This was their warning. The town was watching, and secrets like theirs didn't stay buried long. The bar's laughter died as Jake's voice cut through, sharp and accusing. "Evan's hiding something, and I know what it is." My stomach dropped, the beer bottle cold in my hand. Eyes turned, pinning me in place. In this small town, truth was a spark that could burn everything down, and Jake had just struck the match. Evan sat at the bar, the hum of conversation a dull roar around him. It was a rare night out, a chance to shake off the tension that had been building since his late evenings with Daniel. Jake, his best friend since high school, sat across from him, nursing a beer. The air between them fell off, Jake's usual easy grin replaced by a tight-lipped stare. "You've been weird lately," Jake said, leaning forward. "Always sneaking off. What's going on, man?" Evan shrugged, his heart kicking up a notch. "Just busy. Work, you know." Jake's eyes narrowed, unconvinced. "Work doesn't keep you out till midnight." Evan took a sip, avoiding his gaze. He wanted to tell Jake, to unburden the secret that weighed heavier each day, but the words wouldn't come. Not here, not in a town where judgment was as common as dust. The bar grew louder, a group of locals joining their table. Jake's voice rose, edged with frustration. Come on, Evan. You're my brother. Why won't you trust me? The others quieted, sensing the shift. Evan's chest tightened. Drop it, Jake, he said low but firm. Jake leaned back, hurt flashing in his eyes. Then, as if a dam broke, he stood, his voice carrying. Fine, I'll say it. You with that guy from the center, aren't you? Daniel. The room stilled. Evan's blood ran cold, every eye on him. He could have denied it, laughed it off, but the truth was a weight he couldn't carry anymore. You don't know what you're talking about, he said, voice steady despite the panic clawing inside. Jake scoffed, the betrayal raw in his face. I saw you leaving the center late. People talk, Evan. The locals exchanged glances, whispers starting like a low hum. Evan left the bar, his ears ringing. The next morning, the fallout hit hard. At the garage, his boss, a gruff man who never missed Sunday service, called him in. Folks are saying things, he said, not meeting Evan's eyes. Can't have that here. You're done. Evan stood frozen, the words cutting deeper than he expected. He'd fixed cars here for years, earned respect, but none of it mattered now. The town had made its choice. He walked to the community center, his anger a tight coil. Daniel was there, sorting flyers for a fundraiser. We need to talk, Evan said, his voice sharp. Daniel looked up, concern flashing across his face. They stepped outside, away from prying ears. Jake told everyone. Evan said, I lost my job. This town, they're done with me. Daniel's jaw tightened, guilt in his eyes. I didn't want this for you, he said. I thought we could keep it quiet. Quiet. Evan snapped. You knew this could happen. And now what? You're just going to stand there? Daniel reached for him, but Evan stepped back. I can't do this, Daniel said, voice breaking. Not like this. The center, my work, it's all I have. He pulled a note from his pocket, handing it to Evan. I can't do this. The words were scrawled in haste, a coward's goodbye. Evan walked away. The note crumpled in his fist. That night, he found his truck vandalized, slurs scratched into the paint. The town's verdict was clear. He didn't belong. He sat on his porch, the silence deafening, replaying every moment with Daniel. The warmth, the connection, the promise of something real. Now it felt like a lie. He thought of leaving, starting over somewhere new, but the idea felt like another betrayal of himself. Jake called the next day, his voice heavy. I didn't mean for this, Evan. I was mad, but I didn't think. Evan cut him off. You thought enough to say it. He hung up, the hurt too raw to forgive. Alone, he felt the weight of every choice, every risk he'd taken for Daniel. The man who'd seen him, who'd made him feel alive, had walked away when it mattered most. But even now, Evan couldn't hate him. He hated how much he still cared. The community center was silent, but my voice echoed with anger. You left me to face this alone, I said, staring Daniel down. His eyes, once a refuge, now flickered with guilt. In a town that turned its back on me, I stood ready to fight or walk away forever. But Daniel's next words stopped me cold. I love you, Evan. I always have. Evan's boots crunched on the gravel outside the community center, each step fueled by a mix of hurt and resolve. The town had drawn its line. His job was gone, his truck defaced, his name whispered in judgment. Jake's betrayal had ripped open the truth, and Daniel's note, I can't do this, burned in his pocket. Yet here he was, drawn back to the one person who'd made him feel alive, even if it cost him everything. He found Daniel sorting supplies, his movements tense, like he sensed the storm coming. Evan didn't wait. You walked away, he said, voice sharp. I lost my job, my place here because of us. And you just quit. Daniel set down a box, his shoulders stiff. I didn't quit, he said quietly. I am scared, Evan. This center, my work, it's all I've got. If they find out, they already know. Evan cut in. Jake made sure of that. And you let me take the fall. Daniel's gaze dropped, guilt etching lines into his silence. Then he stepped forward, voice low. I never wanted you to hurt. I thought pulling back would protect you. Evan laughed, bitter. Protect me? I'm the one out here alone. Daniel reached out, hesitating before his hand found Evan's shoulder. I love you, he said, the words raw, unguarded. I've been fighting it, but it's true. Evan froze, the confession hitting like a shockwave. He wanted to believe it, but trust was a fragile thing, and Daniel had broken it. Then why leave me that note? He asked. Daniel's hand fell. Because I'm not as brave as you. The air hung heavy. Evan could walk away, leave this town and its judgment behind. But something in Daniel's voice, the crack of vulnerability, held him there. "You don't get to say that and do nothing," Evan said. "If you mean it, prove it." Before Daniel could respond, a car pulled up outside. Sister Mary stepped out, her expression stern. "Daniel, we need to talk. People are asking questions." She glanced at Evan, her eyes sharp with suspicion. Daniel straightened, his voice steady. "Give us a moment, Mary." She hesitated, then nodded, stepping back, but not leaving. Daniel turned to Evan. "I'll face this," he said. "But I need you to know, I'm not running anymore." Evan held his gaze, searching for truth. He wanted to believe, but the town's weight pressed hard. "You better mean that," he said, then walked out, leaving Daniel to face the questions alone. The next day, Jake showed up at Evan's place, his face drawn. "I messed up," he said, voice thick. "I was angry, but I didn't want this, your job, the truck. I'm sorry." Evan's anger flared, but he saw the regret in Jake's eyes. "You broke something," Evan said. "Fixing it's on you." Jake nodded, but the damage lingered, a rift that words couldn't mend yet. Rumors spread faster now. The community center's board was digging into Daniel's late-night meetings, whispering about inappropriate conduct. Evan heard it from a neighbor, the words laced with disdain. He felt the urge to run, to leave this place that rejected him. But running meant giving up on himself, on Daniel, on the chance to be seen for who he was. That night, Evan went back to the center. Daniel was alone, staring at a stack of papers, his usual calm frayed. "They're holding a meeting tomorrow," Daniel said. "About me. About us." Evan's chest tightened. "What are you going to do?" Daniel looked up, his eyes steady for the first time in days. "Tell the truth. All of it." Evan nodded, a spark of hope igniting. "I'll be there," he said. "Not for you, for me." As he left, the weight of the fight ahead settled on him. The town could push him out, but he wouldn't go quietly. Daniel's confession echoed in his mind, a tether pulling him forward. For the first time, Evan felt the strength to stand, not just for love, but for himself. The town hall buzzed with whispers as Daniel stood at the podium, his voice steady but raw. "I love him," he said, naming me before the crowd. My heart stopped, the weight of their stares crushing. In a town that thrived on secrets, his truth was a spark, dangerous, defiant, and impossible to ignore. I stood in the back, ready to fight for us, no matter what came next. Evan stood at the back of the town hall, his pulse racing as Daniel faced the community center's board and a crowd of locals. The air was thick with tension, whispers rippling through the room. Daniel's confession hung between them, a truth that could either break or rebuild everything. Evan gripped the edge of a chair, his resolve hardening. He wasn't running. Not anymore. Daniel spoke clearly, his words cutting through the murmurs. "I've led this center with honesty, but I haven't been honest about myself. I'm in love with Evan, and I won't hide it." Gasps followed, some sharp, some quiet. Sister Mary stood, her voice tight. "This isn't right, Daniel. You're a leader here." A few nodded, but others shifted, uncertain. Evan's chest tightened, but he stepped forward, his voice firm. "He's not the problem. Your judgment is." The room stilled. A man in the crowd, Tom, a local shop owner, stood. "Evan's right. My nephew's gay. Never said it out loud before, but I'm tired of this town tearing people apart." His words sparked murmurs, some angry, some thoughtful. A woman near the front, a regular at the center, spoke up. "Daniel's done more for us than anyone. Does this change that?" The board members exchanged glances, their authority wavering. Daniel stepped down from the podium, his role at the center uncertain. "I'll step back if you ask," he said, "but I won't deny who I am." Evan met his gaze, a silent promise passing between them. They'd face this together, whatever the cost. Outside, the evening air was cool, the hills dark against the sky. Daniel joined Evan, his shoulders heavy, but his eyes clear. "I meant it," he said. "I'm done hiding." Evan nodded, the weight of the past weeks lifting slightly. "So am I." The next day, Jake found Evan at the garage where he'd started picking up odd jobs. "I talked to some guys," Jake said, his voice low. "Told them what I did was wrong. A few are coming around." Evan studied him, the hurt still there but softening. "Takes more than words," he said. Jake nodded. "I know. I'm trying." Word spread slowly. The board didn't fire Daniel, but he chose to step down, focusing on volunteer work instead. Some locals turned away, their disapproval clear, but others reached out. Tom offered Evan a part-time job at his shop, a small gesture that felt like a lifeline. A few neighbors stopped by, their conversations awkward but kind, a sign the town wasn't as united in judgment as it seemed. Evan and Daniel met at the community center one evening, the place quieter now without Daniel's leadership. They sat on the steps, the silence between them comfortable for the first time in weeks. "This won't be easy," Daniel said, his hand resting near Evan's. "But it's worth it." Evan nodded, his voice steady. "You're worth it." They didn't have all the answers. The town still whispered, and work was unsteady, but Evan felt a shift inside himself. He'd spent years hiding, afraid of what it meant to be seen. Now, standing beside Daniel, he felt whole, not because of the town's approval, but because he'd chosen himself. Jake was trying to rebuild their friendship, and while trust would take time, Evan saw a path forward. As the sun dipped below the hills, Evan looked at Daniel, their shoulders brushing. "We're going to be okay," he said, more to himself than anyone. Daniel's hand found his, a quiet defiance against the world. They stood together, two men carving out a space for truth in a town that was learning, slowly, to listen.